When I first saw the job listing, I thought it was a scam. Night attendant needed, historic Arcadian hotel. Must be reliable, detail-oriented, and trustworthy. Pays $500 per shift. The rate sounded unreal, too good to be true, but too good to pass up, especially considering my dwindling bank account. The email response arrived less than a day after I applied. They attached a quick questionnaire, then sent a brief email confirming that I'd been hired and was expected to report that night. The day before my shift, an envelope arrived at my apartment. Inside, a small brass key, along with a second envelope containing a check for $500 and a handwritten note. Congratulations, and welcome to the Arcadian family. Enclosed is your master key. You'll need this key to let yourself in and access certain parts of the hotel. Enter through the main doors by 10 p.m. Your first shift begins promptly at 11 p.m. Training will be available in the back room behind the front desk. Please watch all training materials before starting your shift. We appreciate your commitment to rebuilding the legacy of the Arcadian. Curious and admittedly a little nervous, I made my way to the hotel that night. The Arcadian was just as I'd imagined. The exterior was a fading memory of elegance, worn stone walls with crumbling edges, tall windows with elegant exterior spotlights that no longer worked. I glanced at the clock on my phone. 9:45, I had time. The hotel's lobby was huge, dominated by a grand staircase. Dust layered every surface, and the faintest whiff of mildew hung in the air. I took a breath, suppressing a shiver, and walked toward the front desk. Behind it was a small door labeled Staff Only. This must be where they wanted me to watch the training. Inside the staff room, I found a TV set atop a rolling cart, and a row of numbered VHS tapes stacked next to it. The first tape had a label on it in looping script, Arcadian Employee Training, 1952. Next to it was a sheet of paper with instructions. Watch all tapes in order. Do not skip ahead. I slid the first tape into the VHS player and turned on the TV. The screen flickered, a hum crackling through the speakers, and then it jumped to life. A video came up which looked in rough shape, like it was a copy of a copy. A cheerful man in a sharp 1950s suit stood in front of a pristine version of the lobby I'd just walked through. "Welcome to the Arcadian family," he began with a polished grin. "We are delighted to have you on board as a steward of one of New York's finest luxury establishments." His tone was light upbeat, but he had a strange way of pausing, just momentarily, between each sentence to smile. "Let's begin with a few simple rules to keep our guests safe and happy," he continued. "Remember, our guests may at times be unique, but they deserve the utmost courtesy and the finest of service. Now, please follow these essential guidelines." The first few videos went over the basics. Instructions on how to clean, address guests, check-ins and check-outs, when to check the guest log, and where to find supplies. But on the final video, things took a took for the strange. "Congratulations on making it to the end of your training. Attaboy. Now let's cover a few final essentials to keep our guests smiling and keep you right as rain. Listen close now, these pointers are real important. Rule number 1. If the elevator takes you to the basement, do not be alarmed. Simply close your eyes and stand still until it moves back up. No peeking. The man chuckled in a practiced, rehearsed way, as though he'd been told to laugh, but wasn't sure why. My stomach twisted at his words. The basement. Why would the elevator just take me to the basement? Rule number 2. If you find a guest wandering the halls between 2 and 4 a.m., gently escort them back to their room. Under no circumstances should you allow them near the front doors. Use a firm hand if needed. If they seem upset, simply assure them that it will all be over soon. A chill ran through me. What kind of guest would be staying here anyway? The hotel wasn't even open. I tried to shake off the unease. The man's smile remained fixed as he went on with the rules. Rule number 3. Do not look into the mirrors after midnight. Our mirrors sure are something else. We wouldn't want you to become disoriented. Rule number 4. Every night, count all the keys on the board. Make sure all your keys are accounted for. Not importantly, there should always be 4 keys marked for the 10th floor. If one of those keys are missing, lock up the lobby doors. turn off the lights, and wait behind the front desk until dawn. Do not attempt to look for it. 10th floor, I thought. The hotel doesn't even have 10 floors. He proceeded with a few more rules. Rule number 5. Now listen closely, folks. If a gentleman with a yellow umbrella comes in asking, "Do you have a vacancy?" you must politely reply, "I'm sorry, we have no vacancy." No matter how upset he gets, stay calm and cheerful. That's the way to keep things running smoothly. Rule number 6. Attention night owl. If you find that key 309 is missing at the start of your shift, here's what you do. Whip up a ham and cheese sandwich. Gather those supplies from the kitchen. Then, head on over to room 309 and give a polite knock. Remember, don't make eye contact. Just hold out that plate and wait until you hear the door close before you step away. You've got it. Rule number 7. Now let's talk about Ronald, our cleaning ace. He'll waltz in and say, "I'm here to clean the mess," to which you'll unlock the custodian closet and let Ronald take it away. If he doesn't give you that magic phrase, simply say, "No cleaning needed tonight, Ronald, and don't forget to lock the doors tight after he leaves." That's how we keep everything shipshape. Last but not least, rule number 8. Now listen up, friends. It's important you remember this. Never, and I mean never, enter the management office. If you happen to find the door slightly ajar, just keep on walking and mind your business. And if you hear any peculiar sounds coming from inside, don't let your curiosity get the better of you. Simply carry on with your tasks. We want to keep everything peachy keen around here. What the F, I thought. The next few minutes focused on specifics of the hotel layout, explaining what doors led where, how to reset the breaker, and the importance of logging any guest encounters in the shift report binder. The rules he'd given, though, stuck with me like a bad taste. That concludes our training. You're now ready to head on out there and knock it out of the park. Thank you again for your commitment to the Arcadian legacy. Finally, I switched off the TV. By then, it was a little after 11 p.m., so I made my way to the front desk to get a feel for my new workspace. The first part of the night was uneventful. The Arcadian was silent except for a soft hum. I completed the tasks in the handbook they'd given me, accounting for all the keys, sweeping the lobby, wiping down the desk. It was eerie, but manageable. I settled in behind the front desk, scrolling through my phone and waiting for the night to pass by. At around 1:30 a.m., the front door of the hotel opened. An old man shuffled into the lobby. He wore a faded custodian uniform that looked like it had seen better days, and I could barely make out the name tag reading Ronald as he drew closer. He moved slowly, his feet dragging slightly on the warm carpet, and I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I knew I had to wait for him to say the phrase that would confirm he was here for his nightly duties. When he finally reached the desk, he looked up at me with weary eyes and said, "I'm here to clean the mess." A wave of relief washed over me as I realized he'd said it. I quickly unlocked the custodian closet, my hands trembling slightly as I fumbled with the keys. As he pulled out his cart, filled with an assortment of cleaning supplies and tools, he glanced at me almost amusingly and asked, "New here?" "Yeah, it's my first night. Any tips?" I replied, eager to learn anything that might ease my nerves. "Stick to the rules, and you'll be just fine, kid," he said before turning back to his cart. He wheeled it toward the elevator, the cart rattling softly behind him. As he stepped inside, the doors closed with a quiet thud, leaving me alone again. Ronald's words did little to ease my nerves. I was still trying to figure out what those rules might really mean, and why seemingly mundane rules would be so important to follow. When I returned to my desk, I noticed almost immediately a space on the key rack. A key was now missing, the key to room 309. Panic rose in my chest as I rifled through the key rack again, hoping it was just hiding among the others. "Where the hell did it go?" I muttered to myself, feeling a bead of sweat form on my forehead. I had barely left the desk for more than a minute. Had someone come in while I was with Ronald? Or had I just missed it during my last count? I quickly pulled out my notes, scanning for the rule about the ham sandwich. There it was. If key 309 is missing, bring a ham and cheese sandwich to the room, and knock, avoiding eye contact. I sighed, resigning myself to follow the rule. Heading into the kitchen, I was surprised to find it fully stocked despite the hotel's long period of inactivity. The shelves were lined with canned goods and an impressive assortment of fresh ingredients, as if someone had prepared for a busy night. I quickly gathered the supplies and assembled a ham sandwich, placing it carefully on a plate. With the plate in hand, I took a deep breath and headed for the elevator. The fluorescent lights flickered as I pressed the button for the third floor, and I felt a twinge of unease as I rode up. When the doors opened, I walked down the hallway, the carpet muffling my footsteps. I approached room 309 and knocked gently on the door, my heart racing. I heard shuffling inside, and after a moment the door creaked open. I instinctively lowered my head, avoiding any eye contact. A figure stood in the doorway, reaching out to take the plate from my hands. They lingered there for an extra moment, as if waiting to see if I would look up. I kept my head down, my heart pounding in my chest. After a tense pause, the figure shut the door quietly, leaving me standing in the dim hallway, a chill running down my spine. I let out my breath, realizing now that I had been holding it. I turned and walked away, the feeling of being watched weighing heavily on me. What is with this fucking hotel? I thought. I got in the elevator, feeling relieved to head back to the safety of my desk. What were with all these rules anyway? What kind of hotel is this? Questions raced through my brain as I took the ride back down to the lobby. The elevator descended, and as it approached the lobby, I got closer to the doors, anticipating my exit. Only it didn't stop at the lobby. It kept going down. Panic washed over me as I realized what was happening. The basement. No, 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 I said as the elevator descended. I desperately smashed my hand against the buttons, hitting any floor that would possibly bring me back up. But the elevator didn't stop. Forcing myself to calm down, I remembered the rules, and I shut my eyes tightly, clenching my fists at my sides. The elevator dinged, and the doors opened, unleashing a rush of cold air that sent a shiver down my spine. The damp, musty smell filled my nostrils. I stood there, back against the wall, heart pounding, waiting anxiously to see what would happen next. Then I heard something moving, slow and deliberate, getting closer. The smell hit me like a punch to the gut, a putrid stench that filled the air and clawed at my throat. It was a sickening blend of rot and decay that seemed to wrap around me, making it hard to breathe. The elevator creaked, and I felt it move slightly as if something heavy, very heavy, had entered it. I could feel it, whatever it was, right there, right against me, hovering right in front of my face. My pulse was racing, and tears began to stream down my face. I could feel it staring at me like a predator waiting, praying for me to open my eyes. What was probably only seconds felt like an eternity of pure horror. Just then, the doors dinged again, and I felt myself moving back upward. I slowly opened my eyes to find the doors now open, looking back out to the lobby and the grand staircase. I ran out of the elevator, ready to rush out of the front doors and quit, on the spot. But that's when I noticed it. Dawn was breaking outside, and a new envelope was sat on top of the desk. Hesitantly, I opened the envelope, sniffling like a child and wiping the tears from my face. Inside the envelope was another $500 check and a note. Great job on your first shift. As a thank you, we have included your pay up front for tomorrow night. If you choose to not return, feel free to keep the check as a courtesy from us. But we hope you do return. You are a valuable addition to the Arcadian hotel family. Management. I took the check and left the hotel, fully convinced I would never return. That was last night. Back home, I've paced my small apartment all day, the check burning a hole in my pocket, and the sunlight giving me a sense of security. I wanted to quit. The nightmares and anxiety of last night are too much. But then I thought about my bills, my empty fridge, the weight of my loans. I've been staring at this check, the memory of Ronald's words echoing in my mind. Stick to the rules, and you'll be just fine, kid. Maybe I can figure it out. Maybe I can endure just a little longer. I've resolved to return to the hotel. I will follow the rules, keep my head down, and stay focused on the prize. Tonight I will walk into that hotel again, ready to face whatever horrors await me. The money is too enticing to walk away from, and maybe I can even find out whatever is going on with the Arcadian hotel. After all, it's just a job, right?